This is the TAN Talk Radio Network.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Picture This. We want to thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Ted Froberg. For the next hour, Jeff Donald, Lou Donald, and I will be your hosts, and we'll be talking all about photography. Got a photography question? The studio lines are open. The local number here in Pinellas is 727-441-3000. The toll-free number is 866-826-1340. Those numbers again, in Pinellas, 727-441-3000, or toll-free 866-826-1340. You can also send us questions by email. Our address is picturethis.questions@gmail.com. No spaces, all lowercase, picturethis.questions@gmail.com. How you doing, guys?
Good. Ted, yourself?
Really good, thank you.
I had a busy day. I was up teaching a workshop, Crystal River.
I understand Lou was teaching too?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I guess that's Clearwater.
Largo.
Yep. Clearwater, yeah, Largo.
Good. Very good.
Busy day.
Busy day.
But here on the air, so we're set to rock and roll.
Yeah.
So what are we doing today?
Well, let's review a little bit. How'd you like last week's show? We had some feedback. And
you put up our Facebook page.
We do have a Facebook page now. Yeah, it's Picture This Radio Show. It's www.facebook.com/Picture This Radio Show.
Yep. And we've got 91 fans. Wow.
91 likes so far, yeah.
I didn't know I had that many friends.
I didn't know you did either.
yeah. It's a shock to everyone who knows me. Where did Jeff get friends? Wow. So, but the show today, we've got some things going on.
Right.
What do we got going on?
Well, we're talking about that dam subject again.
We are. We're going to talk about DAM in the first half hour, which is digital asset management.
Yeah, let's make sure we make that clear.
Really? Okay. Well. And
then in the second half of the show, we have Beth Reynolds coming on.
And we've got some regular features coming up. You've got a little update you're going to do, and I've got a few things I'm going to do. So we should probably get into it, I guess.
Yeah, let's talk about DAM.
And so, I mean, you told me right as we sat down, and I think you said it last week, that you really don't know much about digital asset management.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
And so, basically, digital asset management is how to, my care and feeding of my photos.
Right. It's how, my understanding of it is you've taken 10, 15,000 pictures and you want to go back and find that one of Aunt Mildred in the blue dress on her 80th birthday. How do you do that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so that's really the $64,000 question is how am I going to get these pictures organized so that I can find them and that they're safe, that we will not have my computer crash, my hard drive go down, and all these precious things. And years ago, it wasn't near as hard. I had a student when I was teaching at the Dunedin Fine Arts Center, and at that time they were having not only fires but mudslides, and it was all these series of catastrophes. And so she said that they knew that these fires could come down at any time, destroy their whole neighborhood and home. And there were two things that she set by the door. One was her box of negatives and pictures, and the other was the dog food.
Oh.
So that they could instantly grab the pictures, grab food for the dog, put everybody in the car, and drive out of there.
They're valuable.
And so now, what do we do in saving our pictures? Do we set our computer by the door when a hurricane's coming? So, how do we get out of its path? There's a number of things. Yeah. And that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So, first off, I think, and this crosses over into one of our other shows, which is, they do the PC Hero thing, and I heard them on the show this week talking about storage and backup of things, and they mentioned digital pictures, but they kind of, not to knock them, but they kind of glossed over it a little bit, and that's really sort of our content area here is to talk about that. And first thing we need to understand is that having your pictures all on one hard drive is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
You've got to get them backed up somewhere. And a lot of people are under the false impression that a program like Lightroom, which says it does these backups, they think that it's backing up their originals, and it's not. Lightroom, if you read the manual, you do this stuff, you will know that Adobe says, we don't back this up. It's backing up what's called the catalog, which is other important information about all the edits you've made and thumbnails and things like that. But your originals are not being backed up. So you need to get a backup system started. You need to get a big hard drive, external hard drive for some people, but for others, it would be perhaps an internal if you've got a big tower, something like that. And there are lots of programs that you can use that, every hour, every 12 hours, every night at midnight, the programs or documents or digital files that have been added will be automatically backed up. And they're fairly reliable. Some of the lower end price-wise, they may occasionally glitch, but you'll get a warning on the screen that says, hey, we had a problem backing up last night. You may need to do it again. And so you get what you pay for, but eventually you'll get the majority of your pictures backed up. But under most circumstances, one backup isn't sufficient. And especially if that other backup is an on-site backup, meaning both your computer and your backup are sitting next to each other on the desk. Heaven forbid your house burned down, but guess what? Both of your backup and your originals just went up in smoke.
Yeah.
So we have to start looking at off-site backups, and then ultimately, for mission-critical things, what a bank or something might do, or really important records, is you need to have off-site, which is almost like cloud backup. And the guys on PC Hero, they recommended Carbonite, which is a good program. Well, not program, but service, let's call it. But the question there has become that a lot of people on the inside really question whether Carbonite has a viable business plan. At $59 a year, it's awfully cheap to be backing up an unlimited amount of your data virtually. And so many people question if Carbonite can really make that last. And if they don't, what happens to all your data you backed up with them? Who buys their servers, and what happens to your data when you suddenly go up, oh, I'm sorry, we went bankrupt last night. So the plan that I'm most positive about is one called Crash Plan. And they've even got a service where if people say, oh, I've got a slow internet connection. How am I going to get all my data up on the web? They'll send you a hard drive. You connect that to your computer, back up your whole hard drive to the computer, mail it back to them. Now your whole system is backed up, and all you have to upload every night or whatever your frequency is just the changes, the updates. And that's pretty manageable by most people's internet connections.
Yeah, that sounds...
So, yeah, Crash Plan's a good is a good system. It's a little pricier than Carbonite, but I think they're going to be around. And some of the big boys in data stuff recommend them really highly. Drobo, which makes an interesting package for backing up lots of data. That's what my wife and I use. We use a thing called a Drobo that spreads our pictures across, in our case, it spreads it across 4 hard drives. So if we have one out of the 4 hard drives fail, it's still all on the other 3 hard drives. And so we can take that data and, we instantly can pop the dead drive out, put a new one in, and on the fly, it backs up all the data, and we never miss a beat. We can keep working in Lightroom the whole time all that's going on.
How's that different from a RAID system? Because that sounds very similar to the same idea.
It is, and there's different types of RAIDs. So the people talk about RAID 0, RAID 1, and so you can set up what's called a NAS, which will do a similar kind of thing. They all end up being semi-proprietary, which means if you take those drives out of this particular company's box, you can't put them in anybody else's box. So the ultimate fear is you have like a drive die and the box die, and then you're kind of scrambling. In order to get your data, you got to go out and buy another box, but then you bought it from a company where the box died. It's like catch-22. What's wrong with this picture? Yeah. So, but then you have to back up your RAID, and, so you're still into that. So Teresa and I actually manage a fair amount of data on our main drive. We are almost 5 terabytes of photos, wow, which translates to about 220,000 photos. And so that's a lot of pictures. So I've got one Drobo, which is our main one we work off of for Lightroom, but it's instantly backed up to another Drobo. And so that is in our house, and then we've got an off-site system that we use as well to protect our photos. For the average photographer, that's overkill, for sure. But, 1 or 2 external drives can solve a lot of your concerns over your digital assets, your pictures.
Well, I think something that I would bring up, having just spent the afternoon in the boot camp,
sure,
is for the new person. What we're talking about is way beyond what they're looking to. They're
sure,
like, my images are on my card. What do I do next?
Yeah.
So the first step, I would say, is they've got to learn to get them off their card. Because I've had students come to my classes, and it's like, and they have a handful or a bag full of cards.
Right.
All of their pictures live on cards, which is not a good system to go with. And so their first step is learning to get the pictures off the cards, even onto a hard drive, and reuse the cards and those kind of things. So that's the first step. A program like Adobe Photoshop Elements and Adobe Lightroom can go a long ways. And those aren't terribly expensive programs. And actually, we're going to be able to offer the listeners and our members a deal. It's a one-day deal only. They can get $50 off Adobe Photoshop Elements tomorrow and $30 off Lightroom tomorrow on the full version. So those links will be on our Facebook page, and they'll be on the FCCP page as well.
Very good.
Yeah.
Are we want to take a break? Let's take a break for 2 minutes. We'll be right back.
Up on the roof. The owner, Eric, from Thunder Bay Roofing. We live in a state where everybody's got to have a roof, and we live in a climate where it eats up roofs, the hot sun. So it's important that you install, maintain, and repair roofs, and that's what Thunder Bay does.
I have commercial property throughout the state of Florida, and I was just wondering what your service area is.
Our residential is limited to the Tampa Bay area. The commercial and industrial work we do throughout the state of Florida, and we're actually expanding into the southeast United States for certain clients that have multiple locations.
And how do I contact you?
Call Thunder Bay Roofing at 727-572-ROOF, which spells out 7663. Thunder Bay Roofing specializes in commercial roofing and waterfront homes, and they do spray polyurethane foam and maintain service and repair on all types of roofs. They are a state certified roofing contractor. That's thunderbay-roofing.com.
It's Frankie V and
Judy.
New time, new place, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night, 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. East Coast time. It's the oldies music for you. You love it. Plus a little bit of conspiracy talk, and you with the call-ins right here at the new Frankie V and Judy
Radio show.
WTAN 1340 on the AM dial. It's me, Frankie V. You can also go to the website at tantalk1340.com and look for our past podcasts.
You may be owed some money. After 911 and 411, call 541. That's 727-541-1741. Call Gulfstream Motorsports for a diminished value report. Due to my 28 years experience in the auto salvage business, I'm very good with wrecks. So if your car's been involved in a wreck, call me for a diminished value report. Call 727-541-1741. You may be owed some money for the lost value of your repaired vehicle. And visit us at GulfstreamMotorsports.com.
And we're back with you. This is Picture This. I'm Ted Froberg. Jeff Donald and Lou Donald and I are your hosts for tonight. I want to take a second to mention Big Cypress Gallery. They're celebrating their 20th anniversary during its annual President's Day weekend open house, which runs through President's Day, February 18th. Join famed photographer Clyde Butcher and his wife Nikki in celebrating 20 years of living in a paradise of tropical beauty. Meet Clyde in his gallery, where he'll be autographing books and sharing stories of his life's work, creating a living record of the world's most stunning yet threatened natural landscapes. Clyde and Nikki have scheduled lots of family-friendly activities, including educational booths, storytelling, ranger talks, trail walks, and swamp walks. If you have the opportunity, visit Big Cypress Gallery, 46 miles east of Naples along the Tamiami Trail in Big Cypress National Preserve. That sounds like a lot of fun, I think. Have you guys ever been down to Big Cypress Gallery? I have not.
I've been past it.
Yeah.
And you and I have been to his gallery in Venice.
In Venice.
But I've never been to the Big Cypress one.
Yeah,
we should do that someday.
We should do that. I want to do a swamp walk. I think they have them twice a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Just watch out for the water moccasins when you're down there.
Oh, I don't think there's any.
Oh, okay. No problem. We'll all go then.
All right. Let's do it. Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, we'll do it in our bathing suits this year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. We were talking about digital asset management, and right before we took a break, Jeff, you and I think Lou brought up RAID, which maybe the folks listening don't understand what that is. So let's try to.
Good question.
Yeah.
RAID, it actually stands for Redundant Array of Independent Disks.
Right.
And so basically, depending on the number, a RAID 0 is totally for speed. And in the video production business, we used to use that, quite often. It was the only way to get digital video in the early days, fast enough on and off of hard drives. So it was a big deal. And you just kind of crossed your fingers and hoped it didn't disappear. And then you had tape backup because we were shooting things on digital tape and things like that. But when you went to edit, that was important speed. When you get into RAID 1 and 10 and all these other versions, 5, etc., you start adding redundancy and things like that, capacity, and so now you're into a type of a backup. Once you get away from RAID 0, but performance can suffer, and availability of the data, because it starts to slow down some things, that can be affected as well. So a RAID, the Drobo system that I use uses a special type of RAID that they have proprietary, and most of the these other companies use variable, pretty proprietary things where you can't take the disks out of one box and put them into a different brand. They're just too proprietary. But it's a way of protecting your data and having a backup, but still having fairly immediate access to it.
Right. And that's pretty high end. I think Lou said that's on the.
Well, but you're starting to see it as people get larger and larger amounts of digital assets, which for us is photography. I go to some friend's house and they have terabytes of movies that are not backed up. It just takes his 4 terabyte drive to crash, and what he has spent years building is gone. And so, for some people it's videos, for others it's music. For us, it's pictures, or for a lot of people, it's a small amount of each, which adds up to a large amount of data that needs to be protected. But getting back to Lou's comment on people who have handfuls of cards, they have to learn how to put it into a card reader or how to connect their camera to their computer via cable. The cables even come with the cameras. I mean, it couldn't really be much simpler. But when you reach a certain point, usually about my brother's age, you're afraid that when you touch a computer, you're going to break it. So everything you do is like walking on eggs. Right. So if you've got a question about, your pictures and things, give us a call, 727-441-3000 or 866-826-1340. And again, we're taking calls at picturethis.questions@gmail. So be sure and send us in a question. We'll answer it for you here and get you on the path. And but once you've got your pictures onto your computer, and some people do it just by clicking and dragging, copying and pasting. But a program like Elements, Adobe Photoshop Elements, or Adobe Lightroom, which again, as we mentioned before the break, we're going to have some deals for them for one day, just tomorrow. They can use those programs to help organize their pictures. and they do a tremendous job of it.
Yeah, and that's a big part of what they are, is compared to a few years ago where they were basically a graphics program. Today, they organize your pictures. They help you keep track of them. They help you find pictures.
Mm-hmm. And iPhoto for the Mac is very good at that, too.
Yeah, iPhoto's a basic one that comes with your operating system. And on the PC side, I think Microsoft Gallery takes basic information. They'll organize it chronologically and things like that. And, the Mac will use GPS data that if you take pictures with a camera, and everybody's cell phone camera today, pretty much, if you've got a smartphone, there's a GPS. Mm-hmm. When you take pictures, your GPS location's probably being recorded, and it's going with your pictures.
Right, and I think it also has facial recognition, too. So if you label one of your pictures, say it has your Aunt Matilda in it, the next time you load a picture of her up there, is this Aunt Matilda? And you say, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, my facial recognition tells me so.
Yeah.
So those are all ways, but what most people don't understand is that, or aren't aware of, is that their cameras, every time you take a picture, whether it's something as simple as a cell phone camera to as complex as a $6,000, $10,000 Nikon Canon, it's recording what's called EXIF data. And that EXIF data includes things like, it can include GPS location if those cameras have it, but all of your camera settings, your ISO, your exposure information, aperture, shutter speeds, what lens you used, what camera body, even broken down by not only the model but the serial number. So when Teresa and I shoot with the same camera, which we do, I can look at two pictures. One's going to have her serial number, one's going to have mine. I can instantly tell them apart. So that solves all that arguing we have where, I take the great pictures and Teresa argues with me that it's hers. See, so we can prove right away that it was mine. We don't have any of those family squabbles. Well, I'm glad the cameras are facing this way.
We just got a little signal from Teresa.
Yeah, it was a salute. I'm pretty sure that was.
I'm pretty sure that was a salute. Of some sort,
So but that's how it can aid you. And so I can actually, and of course, day, date, month, time of year, all that stuff is recorded. Mm-hmm. So with a program like Elements or Lightroom, I can instantly look and say, what lens did I take the most pictures with last year? Mm-hmm. And I can say, it's my 70 to 200 lens. And so you can start to learn a lot about your photography thinking, I'm a landscape guy. Well, then how come you're using your telephoto at 300 millimeters the most? What kind of landscapes are you taking at 300 millimeters? So you can actually learn about your style of photography and what you're doing.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it'll instantly find that data. I can click on it and say, show me every picture I've ever taken with this lens. And it'll pull them all up on the screen. Wow. Now, that's a Lightroom feature. It's not so much in Elements. But Elements does the day, date, time of day, and a number of those things as well. But, since Adobe dropped the price on Lightroom 4, that's the program I would go with. The regular price is $149. Tomorrow, the one-day price will be $119. So that's a pretty substantial savings.
It is.
Especially when you consider that the prior version, Lightroom 3, was like $300. Mm-hmm. That's.
And how do folks take advantage of this? They go to our website?
They'll have to go to our website. We got to deal with Adobe for one day.
Yeah.
And or the FCCP website, which is www.fccp.org. And I'll have special links up on both pages.
Is it FCCP or FLCCP?
FLCCP. You are correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Some plastic surgeon thing or something had FCCP. So.
Yeah.
All right. So we're still taking questions.
We are.
And that number is?
In Pinellas County, you can call 727-441-3000 or toll free from outside this area, 866-826-1340. Or email us your questions or comments at picturethis.questions@gmail.com.
Cool.
All right. We got a few minutes left before we take another break.
So what do you do with your pictures? You've been a photographer for a long time.
I have, and I did have one of those backup systems that you mentioned earlier, backing up all my pictures to an external hard drive. And the drive seemed to have failed without my knowing about it.
Imagine that.
Yeah, so what I do is I have my own little system. I back up all my material to external hard drives, and then I always have a hard drive with me in my satchel that I take to work every day.
Yeah.
Just in case the house burns down. I got to have my valuable stuff
That's
with
right.
me. Yeah.
That's right. That's the way to do it. And Teresa and I do that with our Drobos. Lou, how are you backing up your pictures?
Well, I'm in the Stone Age.
Yeah. Well, we knew that coming in here, but that's okay.
I'm in the Stone Age. Really, the only backup I've ever done is to burn them onto a disc.
Oh, wow.
An archival disc.
A CD. Yeah.
Well, nowadays DVDs.
Oh, DVDs, yeah.
Wow, DVDs even.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. We can get 4.4 gigs.
Yeah, okay. Well, then you're in the Iron Age, not the Stone Age.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But, well, and a lot of people do that. And in the beginning classes that we teach at the center, you get a lot of people, when I tell them that their DVDs aren't going to last forever.
That's true.
Right.
That's another thing is people have stacks and stacks. Oh yeah, I got them all backed up.
Right.
And it's like, well, have you played any of those recently? No. Why don't you try the oldest one?
Yeah.
And many times they're shocked to learn that effectively all of their backups have gradually faded away. DVDs, the recordable DVDs are made out of dyes. All colored dyes change with age and temperature. So storage condition affects all of those recordable DVDs. People say, well, why don't my purchased movies? They're made different. They're pressed. In order to record them yourself, they're made out of colored dyes, and they won't last forever. There's some indication some of the cheap ones may only last a few years. Wow. And that's how everybody buys their DVDs. Who goes out and says, I want the most expensive DVDs you got? We always look for the coupon in the paper. We go buy the cheap stuff. Yeah, I've never heard of Stone Age DVDs, but it's only $10 for 100 of them. They must be good.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
You were only risking our lifetime memories to them.
Right. All right, we're going to take another short break here, and we're going to come back with a special guest, I think. Right?
I hope so.
Okay, very good.
In the Tampa Bay Times-Form, it takes 3 hours to remove the floor where the ice will be. Then it takes another 2.5 hours to fill it with 10,211 gallons of water, and 4 more for it all to freeze. But the wait is well worth it if it means seeing our fans beat the Thunder. The Tampa Bay Lightning, we're glad to be back.
Single game tickets are on sale now, starting at just $10. Visit Ticketmaster.com or call 800-745-3000.
Hi, this is Prior Smith speaking from Toronto. Again this winter, more than 3 million Canadians are spending vacation time in Florida. And each day they're continuing a 59-year tradition. They're tuning in Canada Calling on radio and online. They're up-to-the-minute news from home. Join us each day, Monday through Saturday at 9 a.m. and 12 noon. The latest news, weather, financial, and sports information from home. That's Canada Calling, back for another winter season. Join us right here on the 10 Talk Radio Network.
Used Store and Lock, located at 18946 US 19 in Clearwater, next to the Audi store, is offering a safe and secure storage facility. They also provide electronic gate, free pest control, packing supplies, copy and fax service. Call them at 531-4040. That's 531-4040. Call them now. Used Store and Lock offers 3 months free to new customers. That's right, a special 3 months free for new customers. 531-4040 for Used Store and Lock on US 19.
This is your boy Charlie Murphy. This is the Money Man, Eddie Money. Hey, this is Jim Florentine. Tom Cotter from America's Got Talent. John Henton Overton from Living Single.
Hey, this is Frank Caliendo.
This is Greg Millings.
Martha Reeves of Martha and the Vandellas.
This is Maurice Starr. Big Boy Town, baby. Terry Luce from the band Great White.
This is Downtown Dade.
And you are listening to...
You're listening to...
And I love to listen to the Artie Fletcher Show.
The Artie Fletcher Show, weeknights at 8 on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
And we're back. This is Picture This. I'm Ted Froberg. Jeff Donald, Lou Donald, and I are talking about photography tonight, and we're still waiting for a special guest to call in.
Yeah, which is cool. And so we're still talking about digital asset management, taking the care and feeding of your photos.
Right.
And when we left at the break, we were talking a little bit about DVDs and the lack of permanence there. And that truly was one of the great things about film, was that negatives and slides, the last series of emulsions and things that Kodak and Fuji came up with, were very, very stable. And there are slides and negatives that will last a long, long, long time, perhaps outlasting a lot of these early digital files, pictures, that people put onto CDs and DVDs and just kind of let them fade away.
Yeah. What's the lifespan of film?
Well, black and white film, because it doesn't involve color dyes. It's silver.
It's very stable.
Yeah, especially if stored in cold environments and no light. Certainly, probably hundreds of years potential for it.
Wow.
But color films, the original Ektachromes had some real issues. The way that the color was added to it with the dyes already in the film, the early ones had this what was called leucocyan dye failure, and they turned this kind of blue-green. That was your Ektachromes, and particularly if they were stored in a little hotter temperatures and some things, heat would accelerate the chemical reaction. And so a lot of the early Ektachromes from the 60s and 70s aren't in such good shape. And when people ask me about them, can we restore that color? It's rough. And a lot of times I just suggest to people just turn them black and white. Just get the color out of it altogether. In software, you can correct the contrast and some of that, and you still got a usable picture of, Aunt Millie or something from the 60s. But the dye failure was a problem. Kodachrome, on the other hand, because of the way the dye layers were built and the film was processed, Kodachrome was a very, very stable process from very early on. And when I owned my video production company, I used to see 16-millimeter Kodachrome from the 30s. It looked like it was shot yesterday. The colors were just as... what did Paul Simon say about Kodachrome?
Oh, it gives you the greens of summers and makes you think all the world's a sunny day.
That's a cool song. And but
it is. I like it.
But Kodachrome was a great film.
Yeah.
And in my early days of photography, I was a Kodachrome 25 shooter.
Yeah.
And when you think now that the ASA ISO that I shot was 25 most of the time, and films today are or a digital camera, I should say, excuse me, ISO 100. But you can so easily shoot with a modern digital camera at ISO 400 and get spectacular results and blow them up literally as big as you want to go. That, the ISO 25, it was tough. And I think I didn't shoot sports, but I did shoot a lot of wildlife with 25, and of course a lot of landscapes. Landscapes didn't move around so much, but animals. So anyway, back to the digital asset management. What became a problem with that, and fortunately I solved that by getting divorced, and it became my ex-wife's problem what to do with all my slides. But I had trays and trays and trays, and when we separated and divorced back in the mid-'90s, I had probably 100,000 slides.
Wow.
And that was an expensive proposition at all, because to buy these custom cabinets, it was hundreds and hundreds of dollars to store the slides. And if you just threw them in a box, threw them in the attic, dust and temperature and all kinds of things, were going to attack it, and that'd be the end of it.
Yeah, I still have pretty much all the slides I ever took when I was younger.
Yeah. Those are great memories that you'll pass down to your granddaughter.
Yeah.
And they'll still be there. But digital asset stuff just falls apart when we don't care for it, and that means having multiple copies set up.
If you're in Pinellas County, 727-441-3000 or toll-free, 866-826-1340. Also, our email address, picturethis.questions@gmail.com. Leave us a comment, ask a question. What else you got for us?
Well, getting back to taking care of our pictures and things, that was the film era, and there's probably a lot of listeners that have some films. So those were some good tips. If you want your film in negatives and even your prints, to get passed down from one generation to the next, you need to care for. And so it means putting them in a stable temperature, which in Florida we pretty much do. I don't think too many people store things in their attics in this state, and we certainly don't have many basements that I'm aware of. But I heard you tried to dig one time, Ted. No.
Yeah, was that me? No.
Now it's your swimming pool. I understand. That's what it was.
Right.
But coming from the Midwest, where Cleveland and Cincinnati, a lot of people had basements. It didn't take long when you tried storing things in that moist, dark, humid, and you'd see all these slides, Kodachrome, Ektachrome negatives, just eaten up by mold and mildew.
Mold, absolutely.
It was lethal. People would bring in this stuff, and it's like, what do I do? And Kodak used to make this film cleaner, and you'd say, well, try this. And, a clean cotton T-shirt, something that's soft. We had these things called chem wipes that were lint-free like paper towels. And but the thing is, the mold and everything, it actually ate into the emulsion, and it left these little spider vein kind of trails. And
I've seen that, yeah.
It was not good. So those are, but keep it in a stable temperature, keep it out of sunlight. If you can keep it dark, fine. The cooler you can keep it, in a reasonable humidity, which, we run air conditioning in the summers and things. So the film in that, you've probably got decades and decades of stored properly at least.
But if you've got your pictures on a DVD-ROM or a CD, you ought to get them off of there, you think, and put them on a cloud somewhere or external hard drive.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, somebody has sent us a message, and they want to know about what keywording is.
Keywording is assigning words to a photograph or any document you might have, such that you can go back later and search by those keywords. We do that where I work at my day job, and we describe an image by not only what's in the image, we describe it as whether it's color or black and white. So the person in the image might be a keyword. The word color or the words black and white might be the keywords, or the date could be a keyword. Also, we have a lot of drawings, technical type drawings, charts and whatnot. So we also keyword all of our images by the constructs, whether it's a pie chart or a graph, line graph, or a table. Whether it has text, that kind of thing. That's keywording. Is
for people that do landscapes, locations, where they were, various ways to keyword.
State, county. Yeah, one of the things you'll find is that if you have any commercial type aspirations, you want to be a professional photographer, you want to get your work noticed by advertising agencies, marketing companies, things like that, that can get done. I mean, the internet has brought every man's photos to the table, in essence. So, what that means, though, is with all the billions of pictures out there, how does XYZ Marketing find Ted Froberg's photos on the internet? And people are posting them on the internet. Facebook, big sharing sites like Flickr, and those sites allow for keywording. And I know people within our group that have sold pictures because they make extensive use of keywording when they just upload to the various groups they belong to on Flickr. And so the more keywords you use, the greater the likelihood that XYZ Marketing or some stock photo agency is going to find your picture. And they go, wow, this is the greatest picture, and it could be of downtown Clearwater, or it could be, not necessarily your backyard, but could be a trip you took to Yellowstone. So the more extensively you keyword with counties and parks and what's in the picture, and even such simple things as green grass, and you'd be surprised what stock agencies and marketing companies start looking for and the basic keywords. And as they start filtering it, because you've put 25 or 30 keywords with a picture, yours start rising to the top. But if you just put one word, Yellowstone National Park, yours is going to be in there with millions of other pictures that are keyworded, and it's lost in the shuffle.
Right.
So keywording is important. Too many beginners, though, they think that they need to keyword things so extensively so they can find that just one photo. And that gets rough, because if you misspell searching a keyword or just little minor mistakes, and the picture you're looking for won't show up. When we do searches for our pictures, Teresa and I, usually I keep it simple. Start with just 1, 2, or 3 keywords, and then, so now I've narrowed it to 100 pictures on my screen maybe, or 200 pictures. I can scroll through a couple hundred pictures pretty quickly and find it, as opposed to just narrowing it down to the one picture I want, trying to remember all the keywords. So I'm a big fan of, what in many industries is called KISS, keep it simple, stupid. use 1 or 2 or 3 keywords to try to find a picture, not 25. Leave that for the big stock agencies.
Right. We're still waiting for our first caller. Our very first caller. We haven't gotten one yet. So in Pinellas, 727-441-3000, or toll-free 866-826-1340. And also our email address again is picturethis.questions@gmail.com.
Yeah. So what are we going to do after the show tonight?
Well, I thought maybe do the same thing we did last week, which is go down to O'Keefe's and grab a beer.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, I like O'Keefe's.
I do too, and they're good friends of the Florida Center for Creative Photography. Every Wednesday morning, they allow us to host our what we call Coffee and Photography. Runs from 9 to 11, but you can come late, leave early, whatever you need to do to fit your schedule, and it's a lively couple of hours of photography discussion, some good coffee or tea or soft drinks. No breakfast, but we usually, sometimes members bring donuts or bagels or something fun. So usually there's something to snack on.
Yeah.
And but we do that every Wednesday. So everyone, of course, is invited. That's open and free to the public, and you can kind of find out what we're all about and have some good time.
And they're located on Fort Harrison and Jeffords Street.
Yep, just down the street from Morton Plant, and so I'm looking forward after the show to having a cold beer with you.
Yeah, okay, sounds good.
That sounds good. We had a good meal there last night.
We did indeed. Lou and his wife and Teresa and I, we went out for dinner there.
Good.
Got them signed up for their new rewards card, by the way.
Ah, very good.
Do you have one of those?
I got mine last week, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, we've got another question. This person wants to know about data recovery.
Oh, you mean like after it's been lost?
Well, sometimes hard drives
crash,
and some of that, and so
it can be very, very expensive.
Well, it's getting cheaper.
Okay.
Software costs have come down, so it really depends on how the data was lost.
Mm-hmm.
If you accidentally deleted your pictures, through some quirk, you dragged them to the trash and then emptied your recycle bin. I'm sorry about your luck, but believe it or not, we can recover those.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty simple software. There's even consumer versions that are pretty good today. In the early days, I had a hard drive failure, and I lost hours and hours and hours of music.
Mm-hmm.
And so, after Teresa sufficiently yelled at me, I took some precautions there. But, I tried some early versions of recovery software, and it just didn't work. Couldn't find them.
And I recently had a little USB thumb drive fail on me, and I lost hours and hours and hours of work that I had done on spreadsheets, and didn't like that at all.
Yeah. But so there is data recovery software available. There are services. It used to be there were just a few companies, locally that would do this almost none locally, a few within the United States, and they were all very expensive. When I worked for Apple, people would come in and say, I had mission critical stuff on this laptop, and my drive died.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's covered under warranty, right? No, not so much. You did back it up, right? No. Was I supposed to back up my own data? Yeah, pretty much so.
Yeah.
And so, that became a thing. So we would, we didn't send it out, but we had a couple of companies that we recommended. One, I think, was out in Denver. But now I know of at least 2 or 3 companies locally that for pretty reasonable amounts will attempt a recovery. And some of them are giving free estimates and such. But if you really have like a catastrophic failure of a hard drive where the heads crash into it, some of the platters are, scuffed or damaged, that can still be pretty expensive recovery.
Yeah.
But if it's more firmware failure, software failure, stupidity on the owner's part, a lot of that can be recovered pretty simply.
Yeah.
And we encounter the same thing with digital files, and that's a service that we offer through the Florida Center for Creative Photography. I've had probably the best one most recently was we had a member, I think she said it was her 40th birthday. Might have been her 30th, so I won't say her name because I don't want to. I just added 10 years to your life. Sorry about that, kid. But she bought herself a birthday present. Wasn't a photography tour, but she went to Paris, France, and around for like a week or 10 days.
Yeah.
But it was an organized trip, so she was with 40 other people. She's a wedding photographer, and so right away people saw she had a nice camera. And she became the official photographer of this tour. And everybody, of course, says, well, when you get home, email me the pictures. So she said, we got into JFK. It was late. We flew on to Tampa. I got home. I was exhausted. I had all my pictures on a 32-gigabyte card. And I went to put them on the computer. And I don't know if it was something I did or the card, but they were gone.
Wow, and a lot of people think that going through the screenings at the airports will erase your, but they don't. So
No.
Yeah.
They don't erase ones and zeros. It's not magnetic recording, and that's
Right.
that's what X-rays. Some of it can be magnetic. The other form of it was actual film. X-ray is a type of light. It's not visible, but it's a type of energy or light, and it would actually double exposure film kind of. But in her particular case, she remembered taking a class from me at the Dunedin Fine Arts Center and saying that if that ever happens, don't record over the card, get it to me, and we'll recover your pictures. So the next day, she calls me in a panic. It was a Friday, and I said, no problem, get the card to me. She lives up Newport Richie. We met her like that afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock, after she got off work. She met Teresa and I got her 32-gig card, took it home that night, started running the recovery stuff, and I saw that it was searching for it. A lot of times the pictures will pop up in a hurry. This one was having to dig a little deeper. And anyway, the next morning, though, after letting it run all night, found almost 2,000 pictures.
Wow.
And that's what she had remembered about taking, was about
Wow.
2,000 pictures. Got them all back for her.
Good for you.
Burned them onto a couple of DVDs. And her card was okay, so I ran some diagnostics on the card. Card checked out. Told her watch it. If it happens again, maybe it is a card error we didn't detect. But we were able to get all of her pictures. And for all of our members and listeners, we would be happy to do that. Get us the card at the Florida Center for Creative Photography. And you've accidentally erased it, we will do our best to get all your pictures back for you.
That's a great service.
Yeah, and it's free.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there's other kinds of data recovery, too, from hard drives and things. So, we can even try to do some of that, but that's all software, firmware-based and all.
Right. For the beginning photographer,
Yeah.
going back to digital asset management, you've maybe been taking pictures for a year, and you're not really into photography as a hobby. You're just taking snapshots. You need to worry about digital asset management there, or you're just taking pictures of your friends and.
Well, that depends on how important those pictures are to you.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's really what it all boils down to.
Right, that's a good answer.
If you really hope 20 or 30 years from now to be able to still have those pictures,
right,
then that's when you need to do something to back them up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, I think we're seeing not just generational changes, but societal changes in our visual history. The generations of kids that are growing up now, there are very few hard-printed photographs of them. Mom and dad are convinced that, putting them up on the web is safe as can be, and storing them on the hard drive is as safe as can be. But, the old expression is there's two kinds of people, two types of computer users. Those that have had a hard drive failure and those that will. It's inevitable.
I heard that another way.
Yeah.
From a guy a few years ago. It's not a question of if your hard drive will fail, it's when it will fail.
Yeah.
And it truly is. So, trusting all of your family visual history to a hard drive is pretty short-sighted. You need to run out there and get yourself a backup, and if nothing else, do it manually. Simply plug it in and copy the folder from one to the other. Just pick it up and drag it, or select it, do Command-C or Control-C on a PC, and then move your mouse over to the other hard drive, select it, and Command-P or Control-P and paste it into it. I mean, there's so many ways to copy things.
Control-V. Control-V on...
Control-P's print, I'm sorry. It's Command and Control-V.
Right.
That's right. I'm getting old.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. But not as old as you.
Well, that's true. I'm older than you. Yeah.
Was that a salute?
Yeah.
So we've got roughly 5 minutes left. Let's just give out the phone lines one more time. In Pinellas County, 727-441-3000. Toll free, 866-826-1340. Our email address is picturethis.questions@gmail.com. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say we have a brand new Facebook page. If you want to log on to Facebook, it's facebook.com or www.facebook.com/Picture This Radio Show, all one word. And go visit us and like us.
Yeah. And I've got an email here.
Okay.
Another one. So this person says, so with digital, we are saving and backing up. Can you talk a little bit about printing? Prior to digital, we waited maybe a week to get our photos developed. What or where do you suggest printing your images? For instance, what about big box stores, Walmarts, Walgreens, those kind of places? And printing pictures is a lot of fun, and that goes back to losing a lot of our visual history. I don't find as many people displaying pictures of their family, their kids, important trips, milestones in their family's lives visually around their homes. They may have a great Facebook page with galleries of stuff, but it's not the same as sharing it with friends and neighbors and people that come to your homes. But coming into, what do I do with my pictures? We're finding now that the latest generation of inkjet papers and pigment-based inks, we've reached or exceeded, actually by quite a bit, what the old chemical wet process could achieve.
Oh, really?
Yeah, pretty much. Your best paper today, by most measurements, is Fuji Crystal Archive. And you may not like the colors. For some people, it's a little saturated and things. But the longevity of it is probably 75 to 100 years.
So that's
depending on storage.
That's better than processed film and printing at the lab, then.
Well, Fuji Archive is a wet process paper, so that's your best wet process.
Okay.
Printing on some of your high archival, your matte type papers with a pigment-based ink from Epson, Canon, HP has some pigment inks. You easily, under same kind of storage conditions as the wet process, can get 200 years. And it's only going to get better.
Gosh,
as we improve paper technology, improve pigment technology. Yeah. That's pretty amazing.
I'll go back 200 years from now and look at my pictures.
Well, even the dye-based inks have gotten much more archival.
Oh, yeah.
That they're talking some of them 80, 75 years with a dye-based ink today with the right paper.
Yep. And so that's important stuff. Your big box houses, to get back to the question, is basically composed of wet process. And it's using papers like Crystal Archive or one of the Kodak papers. And if they're processing them right, they're using good equipment, good quality control at those places, you're going to get some pretty decent quality prints. Locally, we'll promote some stuff. Sam's Club has some great equipment, great quality control. Costco does. Some of the bigger Walmarts, the super Walmarts, have some high-end digital stuff, and presumably Walmart's following through on the quality control. You should be able to get some good prints there. There's the local custom labs, Reedy down in St. Pete, Eagle, Zebra. So there are some good wet process labs around as well.
Yeah.
That'll get you the 50 to 100 years, hopefully.
Okay. We're about out of time, so we're going to say goodnight for the evening. Gentlemen, O'Keefe's, right?
That's right.
And if anybody's in the Clearwater area wants to join us,
Creative photography, Jeff Donald, director.
visit us online at www.flccp.org. Our executive producer is Ted Froberg. Our directors are Jeff Donald and Lou Donald. Our tech consultant and content analyst is Wade Sutherland. Our engineer is Cedric Harris. If you like our show, you can like us on Facebook as well. Visit www.facebook.com/Picture This Radio Show, all one word. Send your comments and questions to picturethis.questions@gmail.com. For Jeff and Lou, I'm Ted Froberg saying thanks for listening. Keep shooting, and we'll see you next week. Good night, everyone.